All right, man. We're gonna get it started. I know it took a minute, but and you know how I get. Lord have mercy, man. You know I'm over here sweating and doing, making dialing in the show, making sure that we right. But hey, team no sleep. We here, y'all. What is it? Is it
Absolutely.
May 24th, 2023? Montel Allen is to the side, and yo, brother, we got to spend a little time together this past weekend, San Diego. Let's talk a little bit about that before we go into
Yeah,
anything else.
man. Shout out to Burt Grossman and San Diego, indoor football,
Yeah.
strike force. Man, what a great event. I mean, the way they put it together, the way things happen, great game, great experience because it was my first time ever seeing indoor football like that. So I can't say enough about what they're doing, what the brand they're building out there. Um, all around kudos, man. How about yourself? How'd you feel about the whole event?
Listen, it was dope. I ain't gonna lie to you. It was dope to be out there and hang out with you, hang out with Bird and some of the other cats, the NFL folks, and also, side note to have that connection. My daughter and your daughter, I mean, my daughter and your son connecting and exchanging numbers and and talking about things. So, I mean, that was real cool as well to see that happen. But yeah, just to see the game and the speed of the indoor game, the that was pretty cool to see. I still don't know all the rules, but I do like the fact that you can run somebody up on the side of the
Of the
barricade,
wall, right?
and still
Yeah,
keep playing. So I was down with that. So sign me up,
yeah,
put me in, coach, put me in.
yeah, yeah. It's great. It was a good event, like you said, and I'm glad I got to show you a little bit of taste of the city
Yeah,
and introduce you to some guys that I knew out there, some other people. I mean, everybody from Paul Rudy to we did Trayvon Van to Jalen Booth, who was one of the players, to
yeah.
everybody. Right, we got to meet a lot of different people. Felt like a
Hey,
celebrity for a day.
hey, heck, we
So
got
good.
Eric Weddle, right? We hollered at Eric
Yeah,
Weddle, and
yeah,
he
yeah.
and he said he coming on.
Mr.
So I'm
Red
dropping that. Yeah,
and Coach Brown from Last Chance U, he was there. Got
yeah,
a chance to meet with him and then chop it up with some of the people in the organization. I thought it was just an all around great event, man. Bert does a really really impressive job
yeah.
with that event. So proud to know my man. Glad we're in cahoots with him. We got the front door open all the time
That's
whenever we
it.
want to go. So that
Hey,
was
I
a good
still
it
got
was a
my
good
pass,
thing.
so hopefully he don't want my all access pass back because I'm holding on to that. And Mr. Stone, no, we can't say arena football. It's was it indoor inside football league, something
Indoor
like that. We got
indoor
to get it
football.
right.
Yep,
We
it's
got to get it right.
yeah. No more
All
arenas. It's
right.
called indoor football. Yep.
Yeah, yeah. Listen, let's go and get locked in. Let's go and get focused. One thing before we start, I want to give homage to we lost another champion unfortunately today. We lost Miss Tina Turner. Right.
Yep.
Back in my days working Bill Graham Presents and Clear Channel for about 10, 11 years, I had the privilege and the honor to secure her as the principal at two major shows. So I got to get up and close with Miss Tina Turner. So yeah, we definitely lost another one. And want folks to go ahead and listen to some music today. Go hit your iTunes, hit your Spotify, listen to some Tina Turner, man. So
Absolutely, man. What a queen and an icon, right? We lost her today. She transitioned in music, and then also we lost, our godfather of football, Jim Brown, earlier
yeah, oh man,
earlier
that's right.
earlier
Good
this week.
night.
Jim Brown passed away as well. An advocate, an actor, NFL player, uh, everything. What college lacrosse player, college Hall of Fame, NFL Hall of Famer, and I think just a big influence in our community, man. We lost another good one in our corner, man.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
to both icons family, our prayers are with you for strength, and we hope everything's okay, and we'll keep pushing by celebrating your life.
That's it. That's it. Listen, don't wait, y'all, until the last minute to give your flowers to the folks while they're still around. So that's the call to action at the beginning of the show instead of at the end of the show. Talk to somebody, call somebody. Uh,
So,
listen, behind the scenes, I'm looking at it behind the scenes right now. My goodness, folks, I've been waiting for. We've been waiting for a year. I'm gonna say it's a year. I'm probably exaggerating, right? I met our guest last year at a technology conference of all things. Technology conference in Dallas, Texas. We was out there doing it. We was hanging out, hobnobbing with the bigs, the C-suite folks. And we got to talking. And she said that she did some things, and I said, "Oh, we might need to get you on Team No Sleep." Like I'm not even gonna delay it anymore. I'm gonna let her do the intro. Uh, Ladies and gentlemen, Melissa Miles in the building. Look at this. Come on now. Let me just pause and take a screenshot. Melissa Miles is in the building. How you doing, sis?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. It's
Hey,
nice to be on the show.
it only took a year. My goodness.
It,
What is it?
it
Listen,
did. It did. That's crazy because, like I work in tech, but I play football and, my nights and my weekends are kind of dedicated to that. So, kind of like my alter ego. You met me at a tech conference, but,
yeah.
lo and behold, I,
That's all
I
good.
love.
Hey, we do the same thing, and it's bittersweet because yeah you play football, but just recently that season ended. But I tell you what, you dropped a little bit of information right there. Tell folks who Melissa Miles is for the reasoning that you're here on Team No Sleep. So let's talk a little bit about the Vegas Silver Stars and what it is that you do with that particular team and that organization.
Yeah, so I'm a wide receiver and tight end for the Las Vegas Silver Stars. And, our season just ended. Unfortunately, we came up just a little bit short of playoffs, which kind of sucked. But we learned a lot in the process, and I think that that's the most important thing is for us to get back to work hard in the off season, and then come up with a game plan to come back stronger and better.
Wide receiver for the Las Vegas. So again, I want to get conferences right because we were having issues with the Arena League and it's no longer indoor. So this is the Women's National Football Conference.
Yes, the WNFC.
There we so give a little insight from a layman's perspective and those who again may not be aware of what's going on with the WNFC. How many teams? What kind of schedule you got? What I'm saying some things that I even know, so I'm not just going to assume, but tackle versus flag, that kind of thing. So if you can talk a little bit about that, what is the WNFC and how many teams are there besides just the one you have in Vegas?
So the WNFC is basically the Professional Women's Football Conference. It's made up of teams across the nation, amazing women that basically work hard. We're the best. We're the best in the nation. So for Vegas, we're just trying to represent for the women out here, and I coach flag. So for me, it's nice to be able to create a way for these young women and have a next step for them after college because now that they can get
Mm,
college scholarships, there is a new league and a new level for them to be able to play after school. So to me, that's the most important thing. I love being a part of an amazing league, an amazing team, and more importantly, I just love football and I love being able to teach the sport and pass it on to the next generation. I grew up in a time where, women weren't allowed to be on the football field, and I played basketball growing up. So, I mean, I love basketball. Shout out to the Las Vegas Aces doing their thing. It's about to be a good
Yep.
season. But, like that was my first love. And, football is like I found it when I was like working in corporate, as a marketing agent. And, I found arena football, which was weird because I didn't even know that women could play football. And I found an arena football league. It was an amazing run with them. And then I evolved and got to play full contact 11s. They're different, the sport is different. With arena, it's a smaller field, a lot faster pace. In 11s, it's different offensive schemes and defensive schemes that you have to look for. And I'm very blessed and grateful that I just have the opportunity to play and to have played so many different types of football, whether it's arena, whether it's full contact, 11s, and then also to be able to see it transition at another level for collegiate, for these girls to get college scholarships, playing flag football. So it's coming full circle. And I think football is evolving and it's changing for women. And that's just what I like to see.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
Mondale,
I love it too. I love the evolution of women's sports and
yeah.
especially with football because before it was a show, right? They had with the lingerie league and all that kind of buffoonery. In my opinion, they were exploiting sexuality more than the sport. It
Hey,
seems
hey,
now
hey,
the sport
hey,
is starting to
hold
take
on, wait a
it.
minute, because that was the question I
Yeah,
was going to ask, and you can see it in her face, right? You can
yeah,
see, Melissa. Come on, I know the
yeah,
story,
yeah, yeah.
and all right. So go ahead, right there, because you saw the whole expression change. Go ahead with what
Well,
you were
no,
saying
but
about.
I'm being honest. I mean, I thought it was more exploring their
Hmm.
sexuality than it was their actually X's and O's and how talented they were on the field. I'm seeing it, like you said, come full circle. It's now going trickling down to high school where flag football is now competitive flag football for women, and now they, like you said, they're starting to start teams in colleges to provide those scholarships to play football, and now it's taking it from in the professional ranks from, like I said, that lingerie league to now where they're playing not only arena, but they're also playing 11-on-11 full tackle with real strategy, real X's and O's. It's no longer like, it's no longer a game for them. They're actually playing football and being competitive. So it's nice to see that their lead is starting to elevate that way.
Yeah. Go ahead now. You warmed up now.
Don't sleep on the LFL though.
Come on, go
Don't
ahead.
sleep on the LFL though, because we really played football.
No.
And
No. I'm
that
not
was the
sleeping on it,
highest
but
level of football that we could play at that time.
But listen, I mean, if we're going to address the elephant in the room, it was more exploiting their sexuality than it was about playing football. They wanted to be
Absolutely.
out there.
I hated the uniforms.
Yeah,
I hated the uniforms, and I made it very clear about that. When I first came in, one of the first things that we did was we ended up getting pants. But then when things started reverting back, then, it was time to evolve the sport in general. I coach teenage girls, and my daughter is 18 years old. I have an 18-year-old daughter. So for me, the last thing I want to do is have film with my butt hanging out. So to be properly well dressed and to be protected, I think was the most important thing. And that's what we were fighting for, was for us to be able to have proper uniforms and for us to be able to be protected. So then when we go out and play a full contact sport, we're not in a hockey helmet. We're in a real football helmet, and we're actually in pads so that when you are making those hits, your shoulder's not going to pop out or you're not going to get injured. So for us, it's about the evolution of football. And no matter how it looks, we really played no matter what the whole way through. Whether we played in our underwear, I know some of the best football players I've ever played with played in their underwear. But guess what? We don't have to anymore. And the opportunity for another league to be taken more serious is there. And that's what the WNFC does provide for us. So we're able to go and transition from being, the LFL or lingerie players to actually being real football players and being really respected. This last year, I was actually invited to the Raiders practice facility for the Pro Bowl, and we got to do the same drills that the guys in the NFL were doing, and we actually demonstrated it. So for me, I see the evolution, and I've always wanted to be taken serious. So for me, that is the most important thing.
Man, I love that.
I think it's great. But I'm a pro. But before we go on another story,
I'm just going to disregard the questions from the community because you got something you want to say, but I love the passion that's coming out of Melissa right now.
I want to poke a bear, and I want.
Watch him. He gonna poke. I
want to get the honest reaction. How do you feel about the transgender kind of thing coming into play now with women's sports? How do you honestly feel about that? And let me put myself out there first before you say something, so you can see where I stand. I don't feel it's right that transgender, there were biological men turned into women, being able to compete in all women's sport, or used to be all women's sport. I don't think it's right, but I think they have a biological advantage in that structure. And you being a professional, how do you feel about that? Because I've heard mixed emotion from different people that say it's okay, they don't care, and the other ones I'm saying they're very against it. Like, for instance, that young lady just won second place. And then a transgender won second place. It took away from her opportunity that was recently in the news. I just want to know how you feel about this kind of coming along, and because it's really involving you guys in sport, women's sports more so than the other way around, women coming into men's sports. How do you feel about that?
So first, I want to say that I fully support the LGBT plus community, and my brothers and sisters. But I support them all the way. Do I think that they should play in the same league with women? No. Whether you're trans from a man to a woman or trans from a woman to a man, provides an unfair competitive advantage if you are taking testosterone or if you are biologically born as a male. It doesn't matter when you transition. I just think that it's not really right, and it is something that needs to be addressed.
See, that's the answer I want to hear, because now we get it from a woman's perspective that's actually in the sport. Now you can go on, James. You go on with the show now. That's what I wanted to hear.
But let me rewind a little bit, right? Again, because Melissa, so Montel and I will sit here and we'll talk from a coach's perspective, a father's perspective, a male's perspective, a fan and things of that nature. And we've had this awkward conversation for a while, but it's rewarding just to hear the angle and the perspective of someone, again, like you, who is a professional athlete, a female professional athlete in a sport that there aren't many females in, right? So to hear your perspective on that particular topic right there, I know it gets awkward sometimes just having that conversation, but the world will be better off if we continue to have this particular conversation so folks can understand and get the left and the right and the center, and then make a decision, be respectful for it. So I wanted to give you those kudos and those flowers for at least being courageous enough to answer the question. Don't be afraid of Montel. Listen, you
It
faster
is
than
a
them anyway.
controversial.
Hey, you
It's a
faster than them
controversial
anyway.
subject.
Yeah.
It's a controversial subject, and I've always been a big supporter of the LGBT plus community. So for me, I personally, I don't want to get hit by a man.
Mm.
Mhm.
And the strongest woman and the strongest man, they match up a little differently genetically. So therefore, I mean, realistically speaking, there can be a different league. We're pushing women and we're pushing women's football, and it's a full contact sport. So we need for it to be kind of fair and for the standard to be set across the board.
Love that. Love
I,
that.
I applaud your honesty. I do. I really applaud your honesty. Um, Again, I think this is such, like you said, it's such a controversial thing that's going on. And the envelope's always going to be pushed, right? You're always going to have a transgender that not only wants to, they want to compete in MMA against men and so on and so on. But again, I just think the genetic makeup is just a different makeup, and he gives an unfair advantage, especially for those that were born biological male, transition into a female. And I don't have a problem with that. I'm just saying, when you want to come to sports, sports is supposed to be an even playing field. That's why you get punished for unfair advantages by people taking drugs or doing things illegally to give them an unfair advantage. I just think, and that's something you can't change, right? It's your genetic makeup. I mean, you can change it to a certain degree, but you can't change who you were born as. So, I just like I said, I appreciate your honesty, because most people will duck the question. They don't want to hear. They don't want to say the honest thing about it. They just want to be politically correct. And I'm glad to get it from a professional woman's perspective, professional athlete perspective. So thank you very much for
I
that.
have friends that are trans, and yeah, I have friends that are trans, and I advocate and I support their mission and what they fight for, because they are fighting for a bigger cause. They're fighting for a
Mhm.
place in society and in the world. And by no means do I not think that they shouldn't be playing sports, but I think that just in a women's full contact sport, that they should not be allowed to be able to play, if they have taken testosterone or if they've taken steroids. I mean, that's a standard that's set across a lot of different sports. So I think that it should be upheld, especially in football, where there's so many injuries and so many risks to get injured.
Mhm.
Love it. Listen,
Yeah.
man, I've seen Melissa run routes too. So she look, she can talk that talk. Let's get back to football real quick, because I want to be cognizant of some of these questions that are coming in from the community.
Yeah.
Shouts out to Dr. Stone here coming in. He says, how are the rules different in this league versus CFB and NFL and other football leagues, and then televised on any particular networks? Because again, we've got a large community that's coming in here, and they're interested in this conversation and would probably like to watch, right? Again, but just don't know where to catch the games at, don't know where the Las Vegas Silver Stars play, either on TV and things of that nature. So if you can answer that particular question.
So our games are streamed on Vire Network. So you can just basically download the app. It's a subscription, and you can watch all of the games from all the teams. They'll stream them live, and then you can also watch like historical games as well.
Oh, okay. And what was that network again?
Vire,
Which website?
VYRE.
I might have to check that out. Okay, okay. And that kind of goes in line with this question here from Chris about coming on ESPN, coming on Fox. Are there any plans maybe that you know of from your perspective of getting more uh, attention to your sport and to your league, and getting them on some of the major networks?
Yeah, I think visibility is really important. And I think that the more that our games are streamed on the bigger networks and more visible, it makes it a better situation for everybody, because then sponsors are willing to come on board and we can get advertising dollars. I come from the advertising field, so I know how important it is to have the visibility, have the eyeballs, and have the sponsors there. I mean, that's literally all, like, that's what gets our team funded and keeps us going. And so sponsors and recognition and visibility is important. And I think that there are talks about ESPN2 and different streaming sites, but I think that the Buyer Network is a network where we're able to kind of run it in house, a lot of our games, which is
Mm,
good as well. We're hoping that the major networks do kind of pick up, but that's how we can get paid eventually and try to bring in revenue and generate revenue for the team, for expenses, um, and different things like that, because football is not cheap. travel and all the gear that we have to have, it does add up, let alone the time that we have to take away from like work, or some people are in school. So it's a big sacrifice that we have to make. And I think that the more visibility that's out there, the better it is. And the more that it can be like maybe even a career for these young ladies one day.
Love it. Love it.
Do you think the difficulties of raising money and getting sponsorship will be less harder now that the explosion of college basketball for women, and now the WNBA seems like it's starting to take on a whole nother leg as far as visibility and getting those sponsors and leveling that pay scale out? Do you believe that football will eventually get in that realm, and how fast or how slow you think that's going to happen? Because it seems
I
like
do believe it.
basketball like it's overnight. Say it again. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, nothing's overnight, everything's been
Yeah.
worked on and cultivated for a long time. I think that it's important to always just be mindful of the sport, and, making sure that you're always evolving it and elevating it and keeping the best people out there so that you can showcase the best product, and I think that that starts with our youth and our youth sports, and being able to build up these girls so that they know what routes are. They know what proper coverage is. They know the difference between man and zone. They know what a seam route is, and they know what kind of routes work for what kind of defense. I think that having that fundamental and understanding the sport is only evolving, our sport as a whole, because now we're having young girls that are going from playing flag in high school to then transitioning and being able to transition well and ball out. And so what I'm seeing is the evolution and the knowledge behind the sport. I mean, these girls have the physical ability, and you see it with basketball. Basketball's been around for a lot longer, and they've been
Yep.
paving the way as well with women's soccer and a lot of the other sports that are, making moves and really changing and pushing the narrative today. So I do see it evolving, and I do hope and pray that, um, big sponsors start to pick up the league and start sponsoring us, like how Adidas did and Rydell. Those are big names, and I appreciate their support, because without them, where will we be?
Hmm. That's a good point. But I will say this, and I will echo what MDH is saying here. She says women's sports are starting to get some legs, but we have to keep adding gas to that fire because you got so far to go. But, starting to get that visibility. I think back to different sports, but same kind of thing. The visibility of like the NCAA women's tournament. I didn't watch the dudes. I was all about the LSU, and I was all about Idaho. Right? I was watching that as opposed to what the dudes were doing. And now the WNBA, some of them got drafted and elevated to the W. I'm watching that and being more excited about watching the women play as opposed to anything else. So we football fans, me and Mr. Allen here, we were just, like I said, down at San Diego Strike Force. So to see you and your team, and I'm gonna get some swag here. I might just order something while we online right now. I'm gonna go off camera and order me some Silver Stars gear. You know somebody in the inventory department? Okay, I'm sorry. Let me get back on. Let me get focused. Let me ask you this: on the corporate side, do you see yourself?
Kind of pushes it.
Do you so getting into that?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, what you
Yeah.
over there pushing buttons?
No, I don't know. I'm out in the mountains. So the Wi-Fi's a little iffy.
Is all good. The question was, what role would you play on the corporate side for the league if you were ever given that opportunity, right? Because you've got that skill set, you've got coming from corporate as well, coming from business, coming from entrepreneurship, things of that nature. But if someone cracked that door and said, Melissa Miles, we'd like you to do X, Y, and Z from a corporate executive perspective to help elevate the league, help elevate the game, what would be your day one type of activities if that was something to provide it?
Man, actually, that would be a dream come true. To be able to bridge sports and my knowledge of marketing into one cohesive role, like that would be amazing. And the first thing I would want to do is really just make sure that we have a good marketing plan in place, and being able to get the right sponsors in place and the right network and the right community behind it. Like the Raiders. They have, opened up the doors to us, and we've been able to kind of like work with them. And I think that having that relationship with the NFL teams in your community makes a big difference. At the end of the day, we're all playing the same sport, and we're just trying to get a little piece of the pie,
Mm-hmm.
and try to get ability for these women. And I mean, growing up, I was always discouraged from trying to play football. They were like, "Oh, why would you do that?" But it's something I love, and I think that every girl that loves it should have the opportunity to be able to play and to be
Mm-hmm.
able to get paid to play. We work just as hard, but we have to have day jobs in the meantime. A lot of us have kids and families and a lot of other responsibilities that people don't see. So that if you were able to focus your time 100% on cultivating the craft, imagine how much more amazing we would be.
Wow. Come on. There it is right
So,
there.
so
Wow.
what I just was thinking about what you just said. I think it would be very interesting if NFL got into the business of backing you guys a little bit because we've seen it now where they're developing these development leagues with the XFL, and then you have the offshoot of the USFL. We see the NBA sponsoring the WNBA. It would be great to see the NFL say, you know what, we're going to sponsor this woman's professional football league and put it up under there. Now I think your marketing creative juices can come really in handy. Like maybe you guys are the opening game, where the fans get 2 games for the price of 1. They get to see women's football before they get to see the men's football or something like that to piggyback off each other. But I do believe, and I hopefully someone's watching, that they need to get involved with you guys to bring you guys up because that would be that's a whole other branding that they can do on their own to help you guys up and elevate because as we see the WNBA is really cultivating definitely with the NBA support. I would love to see that kind of the NFL bridge the gap with you guys and hopefully you guys league can boom as well. And every NFL team should have a women's professional football team.
Well,
Right up
I like the way
elite.
you're thinking.
I was gonna say. I mean, that's cool. That's the nirvana. But even like
Yeah.
Kevin is saying right here, I mean, still have a women's football league or team, even in a city that doesn't have it. We used to have one here in Sacramento. I think it was the Sacramento Sirens. I can't recall, or the was it the Surge or the Sirens? I'm not sure, right? But
I think it was a surge
yeah, where they go?
with the WFA.
Okay, another league. See, I got to get my leagues right.
Yeah, there's WFA as well, and there's teams that do play in different. There's teams that play in different cities, and I think that one day we just need to be cohesive and kind of find unity and be able to have the best talent for all women's football in one place. I think that would
I think we
help,
got to push the
and
envelope.
that would
Wow.
elevate.
I think we got to push that envelope a little bit though. I think we got to press the gas button. Mr. Tom Brady just got some fat pockets buying a piece of the Raiders. I think he should be able to donate a few chips over to the Las Vegas Silverbacks over there, so you guys can play, so you guys can have something as well. And I think if they just show that support, just showing that support, like basketball players go to WNBA, professional basketball players, they go to WNBA games. It would be nice to see some professional football players be able to attend you guys' games and support you guys and throw, like I said, a few dollars behind there. I think it would be a great experience, man, because I really applaud what you guys are doing. I think it's great. And like you said, getting all this talent, and now the talent's being cultivated from a young age, all the way from young Pop Warner, girls already playing the high school now, and now college opportunities. They can develop a market, and we've seen it with WNBA. I think the blueprint is already laid. It's got to now execute.
I think we talking to the choir.
I agree. I completely agree.
I think we talking to the choir because Melissa.
that's literally the goal. That's the mission right there. Is to be able to bridge that gap and just have a seat at the table. And to be able to get paid to do what we love to do. We don't want to be rich. I just want to make a living to be able to, to play football. And I think that the girls coming up behind me, the next generation, they deserve that.
Yeah.
I tell you what,
she's blazing the trail.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you what. Let's forget to run the show for a minute. We'll get into that in a minute. So I would like to ask, where does your Elite 360 fit in? Because you kind of hinted at that just now, right? Is that still something that you're working on with the next generation behind you coming up and setting it up? I know you said you were doing some flag football leagues, but how does that intertwine into that end goal of having that next generation being able to have capability and access to play football?
So Elite 360 was actually just a league where I was doing some training for the kids out here in Vegas. I quickly realized that Vegas has the most elite flag football girls that I've ever met in my life, ever had the pleasure of coaching. And there's high school teams in each of the schools. And on top of that, sorry, my daughter is being
Hey, tell her congratulations. Didn't you just graduate?
so yeah, yeah. She just graduated from high school actually.
Congratulations.
Mhm.
Congratulations. She's hiding behind the refrigerator now. So
It's all good.
yes. But I've actually met some of the best flag football girls, ever out here. So what I'm doing is just trying to help the sport move forward. I want to get back into coaching. When I was playing, it actually became really difficult to coach and play at the same time.
Hmm.
So, I still feel like I have a little bit more game left in me. So I went back to playing, but coaching is really in my heart and my soul. And so for me, that's probably going to be the next step and the next evolution. And I want to make sure that like when I do it, I go correct and I have all the time to dedicate to them because they work for it. These girls are amazing, they're hardworking, they have good work ethic, and I think that that's really what's going to elevate the sport even more, is just having that football mentality and the at a young age so that they can grow. Like our 10U girls go out and beat the boys every tournament. So, you
Wow.
know, it's coming a long way and it starts from the youth and it starts from the kids and them growing and evolving the sport entirely.
Awesome.
Man, that's cool, right? We're gonna continue to watch that growth. We're going to continue to watch your evolution. Continue to watch what happens with your league and the other leagues. I'm still buying the swag before the end of the night, just so you know. But next time we in Vegas, we definitely gonna make sure that we head to a game. What was it? It was only 6 games though in the season, so that's what's up with that. Six games. That's man. The odds and the okay. All right. We're gonna have to add at least another six
It's
games. Make at least 12 game season.
It's crazy because it goes by so fast, right? But if you think about it, because we're not getting paid to play, um, it's difficult dedicating, every weekend back to back playing and then, working Monday through Friday and then going and playing on Saturday. So, it does seem like a short season and I feel like we were just getting revved up. That's why we were really looking forward to playoffs. But it just didn't happen that way. So for me, we're just gonna go back to off-season training. I'm gonna get back into coaching, and that's kind of where I'm gonna be transitioning for now until, the season starts back up. I mean, May, so it seems like we do a lot more preparation, and training leading up to the season, and then, that way we could just kind of go full speed because it is a game every week back to back. And
Gotcha.
it gets daunting when you have a family and you have to work.
Yeah,
So, um, you know,
I heard
I
that.
wish that it was longer. I wish that we had more games, and I wish that we were able to play more teams as well. I feel like we were limited with like how many teams we played. When you only have 6 games in a season, I think that's why playoffs kind of got a little questionable, like
Mm.
with how it netted out. Um, Cookie crumbles.
It's all good. It's all good. Listen, I mean, folks are chiming in the comments right here, coming from all over the place, and giving you your flowers as well. Uh, Mel is talking about thank you, Melissa, for your dedication to the sport and to women. I mean, that's the one right there. I'm gonna want to put on the screen for sure. Very very proud and
Oh, thank
happy
you,
for
Melanie.
you. So I mean, this is what's up, right? So you're definitely getting these flowers from folks who again wanting to understand and wanting to learn and wanting support. I'm gonna find the app, download, and like Mel said, yeah, I'm gonna buy the swag. But okay, we don't have to get into my business how much money I'm gonna spend tonight. But Kevin is saying so true. Used to officiate some flag football when I was going to school, and the girls and women's games were more competitive and better football. That's that's crazy, right? I mean, you think not crazy, but that's so interesting. I mean, back to the statement that I made about I'm watching more WNBA and more NCAA women's games. I've been missing out. So selfishly, I've been missing out. Montel, I thank you for
No,
opening my eyes to a broader selection of sports. And now that we got Miss Miles on here, we definitely getting into it. So it's just.
yeah, I think with sports, especially like that have been predominantly dominated by male, or from the male's perspective. Women's sports are very more calculated when they play. From my experience watching like basketball, I can say because I've watched them a lot. They run X's and O's. They actually run the plays where guys tend to isolate and kind of just go one on one. And I know in football, because I'm a former football player, I think girls can use their skill set and they're very calculated and they execute the plays. Where guys, if they're not able to execute the plays, then they go to just being the physical group, right? They just kind of negate that out the book. I'll impose me being very physical more so than executing the X's and O's. So I think it's more of a pure game if that's the right description of it, right? It becomes more pure because they can run those plays, they execute their plays, and they pay very close attention to detail. I've seen girls sports, especially with the basketball, they play very close attention to detail more so than boys. I don't know if that's just a learning disorder that we have as male. Is what we do, or we don't learn it that way. But they are very particular when they come to execution. Where guys in sports, at least in my experience, is like, hey, if that doesn't work and we can't do that, doesn't work, I'm just going to be physical. I'm going to use the physical route to get through it. So that's why I appreciate women's sports so much. I do, especially the WNBA. Unfortunately, I haven't watched the Las Vegas team. I will this year, but next year I will watch them. I'll pay attention to that. But for girls NBA, I watch it all the time, and I think their WNBA. I just think they just do a great job.
That's all good. I tell you what. I want to be again cognizant of time.
Those Las Vegas Aces, right?
Yes, indeed.
Them Aces.
Big fan. Yes, I'm a big fan of
it. So they're gonna win it again. They're gonna...
Hold on. So y'all got the Aces. You got the Raiders, and in about a week you're gonna have the A's. Come on, why y'all taking everybody?
Hey, don't forget the hockey team either. They got the hockey team as well.
Yeah, the Golden Spikes or the Knights. I don't want to mess up.
Yeah, the Golden Knights.
Golden Knights.
Yeah.
Knights. No hockey people come.
Yeah, they're about to win it too. Actually.
Yep. So.
Oh, the Knights are big in Vegas. They'll let you know.
Yes.
I love it.
All right,
honestly, the sports out here in Vegas is amazing. It's next level.
I tell you what, let me make acknowledgement to a couple of comments. I see some new folks coming in. We got Robert Johnson. As a retired NFL player, I always make sure to support the women. So shouts out to Bob Johnson in the building. Love to have you in here, sir. Thank you very much for that. And
actually, that's Rojo. He played for the Tennessee Titans and the Utes as well.
Oh, good. Utah guy.
Look at that. We global around here. Y'all don't know. We get down with the. Come on now. Some listen, y'all. But I'm gonna put that subscribe up there right quick. Y'all know Team No Sleep Wednesday 6:30 p.m. Okay, let me stop. Last question for you in terms of your game and how you play in the sport. But you're not a tight end, so you're not. This doesn't really matter. You're not a Gronk or a Kelsey. You're a wide out, right? But who would you like in your game?
I played. Hold on, sorry. Can you get the dogs, please? Thank you. I'm sorry.
Bring them on camera. It's all good. You at home. Bring the dogs on camera. Listen, this is a family show.
Oh no.
Until Montel starts dropping, F-bombs and then, the stream cuts off because the police are looking at us.
I'm good. But yeah, who would you mimic? Who is your game mimic after in the NFL? Who is your game mimic after?
Okay. So I would say that, like, for me, this last season was my first season playing tight end. And so I went from being a wideout to a tight end, which is a lot different, right? You got to block a lot more. You're running across the middle, getting hit by bigger girls sometimes too. So I would say this season, I definitely, as far as a tight end, I mean, Travis Kelce is definitely a big playmaker. But I used to always look up to like Jerry Rice and, watch his film. I got to train with Terrell Owens like way back, so really like the tall, linky receivers, the ones that could go up for the ball. That's kind of always how I wanted my game to be and mimic.
There you go. Hall of Fame all the way around.
Come on, right there. This statement right here, right? For the most, there it
Yep.
is, right there, right?
Yeah.
So you make sure and rewatch this with all your teammates and your coaches and everyone from the league, because you definitely getting the kudos here tonight on Team No Sleep. So appreciate you for again jumping in. All right, let's get into some other conversations, some other topics. Appreciate you for going so deep into your background and your story and the league and things like that. I can guarantee you that you've gained some new fans and supporters tonight and on the replay when this plays again. The stories that I sent you guys today, more on the social impact side, and the question that I asked was, is there a rise of racism in sports again? All right, we're seeing a handful of incidents that are happening that make it seem less covert, more overt, with some particular incidents that have been happening. Talking about the Real Madrid star out there and the fact that they were playing a game, they were losing the game, they lost the game, and there was an effigy of him being hung shown after the game. The Bubba Wallace incidents are happening again, where they don't. Folks are saying on the open mic and on the open radio that they don't want him in this sport. Then there was a couple of incidents at some basketball games. I'm gonna show these stories as we talk about this, but Montel, I'm gonna let you lead with the discussion around the question: is racism becoming more overt in sports, especially professional sports today? And your thought on that?
In professional sports, I think you got to. It's a little different internationally compared to what's here domestic, right? He's in an international league that he's playing. He's over in these countries, and as we both know, soccer fans are fanatics, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think amongst those soccer fans that are fanatics, you have a lot of people that are racist. You know, they see anything. One, I think they have some racist undertones on what they do, and then also they see the color of his skin, right? They see these things. They see he's a good player, so they attack those things. One, not only to get him off his game, but also to hurt him maliciously. So I think in the international game, it's a little bit different than domestic. But to answer your question, yes, I think we're starting to see a whole different level of racism within sports. It's starting to spill into sports, into our competitive environment. Um, all the way, we've seen it from the high school level all the way now going into the professional realms. Even when we're having success, right? It's almost like they hate to see someone of color have a lot of success without pointing that out or being very against it for whatnot. But I also think the political climate in the United States has something to do with it. I really do. I think that now we're having these different fights in the political climate, with supporting Ukraine. We brought a lot of Ukrainians over for them to come over from their war, but then it's obvious you see when people that were at the Mexican border trying to get over here that were fighting the same kind of cause in their countries, they have to be held in these camps with these silver blankets and sit there and go through this whole entire process. Where Ukrainians got to fly over here and didn't have to do that when they were avoiding their war. So obviously, what's the difference between both of them? They're foreigners, right? They're all considered foreigners, but the difference is Ukrainians are mostly Caucasian or white, and then these people that were sitting at the border are people that are brown skinned and black, Haitians and people that came from Ecuador and all that stuff. We don't even have a division. We have not only a division in sports, we have a division in the processes, and the processes are racially motivated as well. So I think we have a lot going on, man, that needs to be sorted out, and no one likes to talk about it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of it's scary, and it's shame on it's supposed to be the land of the free, right, and the land of opportunity,
Mm-hmm.
but it ain't. It's not like that, and I think people that are not of color, they don't see it. They get blind to it because they're assimilated into a different aspect. Us as people of color, we can see it, and sometimes it's obvious and not so obvious, but we can see it, and we have to deal with it on a day-to-day basis. And I just think those things that Mr. President, I forgot his number, but the orange president is getting back into political office. He's spitting his rhetoric, you know what I mean? The
Yeah.
Republicans are spitting their rhetoric. They're going against the Democrats. We just got a lot going on with with a lot, and race is starting to become the device of separation within the country.
Interesting perspective there, what you put, and listen, I'm gonna let you chime in, but I want to put back up what Kevin said, because again, we started off with the conversation around sports, but Kevin made the distinction again. Yeah, I don't think it's sports only. Yes, we are seeing it play out in sports stories, but this stuff has been okayed by the leaders, quote unquote, of certain areas of this country. So he's pretty much echoing what you just said. And
Mhm.
it's, the fact that, again, it's more overt as opposed to covert as it was before. Talk to us. What are your thoughts on this? You Melissa.
Melissa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we come into you. We come into you. Breaking news from Melissa Miles.
Oh man,
We throwing you
we
in the
have a
fire.
long
This
way
is
to
two
go.
notes.
Yeah, I was just gonna say when it comes to this country and race issues, I mean, we have a long way to go,
Yeah.
and especially in sports. I mean, historically speaking, there's been a lot of people that have had to break those stereotypes, and it's just unfortunate that like in today's society, and we've come so far for us to go backwards so many steps. It's like you take two steps forward and you take five back. So I mean, in terms of equality in sports, especially overseas, I mean, there is a lot of racism, and it's just so ugly that now this stuff is becoming like to light. And I think because of social media and because things can go viral so quickly, everybody's made more aware of it. But being a biracial person in America, I've seen it since a young age. Having a mixed family and coming from having a white mom and a black dad. You know, whole life. Where people would say stuff or be really hateful or evil. And I just think you know we're all people in this world, and we all should be looking out for each other and taking care of each other, and America needs to take care of America first. There's so many people that are struggling with mental health. There's so many people struggling with poverty and homelessness. I mean, I come from LA where it was horrible. So many people on the streets, half of them are mentally ill, the other half just couldn't afford rent. And there's a lot that the country could do for the people here in this country to be able to
Mm.
help, you know. But it's a bigger issue that we have to deal with, and with the elections coming up, I'm hoping that we do get some good candidates that can maybe make some change, because right now things are just kind of headed in a downward spiral, and you know um, something's got to change.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I just think, sports used to be the kind of the sanctuary that kind of isolated you from a lot of racism, especially in California or on the West Coast. We don't see it as much like in the South. I know there's a lot of division in the South and in the Midwest, but sports used to always be that kind of that sanctuary where it doesn't go out there, right? It doesn't. It's really not. That's the one even playing field where we have a chance to compete, play, do it. Maybe some name calling, but we can get you back and all that stuff.
Mm.
Now, like you said, with social media and all these other things that are going on, it's really out there. And my disappointment is with the cancel culture thing. Like, they pick and choose. They pick and choose who they want to cancel. They pick and choose who they want to target. They pick and choose what they want to do and all that good stuff. It needs to be something that's across the board. And I think they need to be somewhere where there's punishment across the board, especially when it comes to high schools. Like we're seeing a growth in high school racism.
Yeah.
I think when you're a grown man and you're a professional, you're gonna be called the N word, and you call somebody back, and you're playing sports, and that's a whole different level. They can get into that. But once we start digging into the high school and the youth, that's a whole different ballgame, because those minds are being influenced so heavily, so hard at home, that it's transitioning into sports. You think it's okay to call Indians and African Americans derogatory names and all that stuff. We got to really pay attention. I think schools need to be starting being held accountable for their students' actions, just like other people are held. Since they're young, they're not like a parent is accountable for a youth doing something. Schools need to be accountable for their teams that are doing something that's seeping into these high schools when that poison starts to get out and they start to do these things. And I don't think just suspension and all that stuff sometimes is enough. There needs to be something. The team loses games or they get suspended, kind of like the guys that did that thing in out by your thing, James, when they suspended their season for
Right.
that
Yeah.
racial
Yeah.
incident that
Yeah.
they
That
did.
football team. Yep.
Yeah, I think there needs to be something that needs to be send a clear message to that won't be tolerated. And until we get that on the educational system, especially at the lower level, it's going to be hard to combat racism within sports, because it's starting at a young age now. It's not just as adults; it's starting at a really young age, which is scary.
I love this comment here. Racism is a form of bullying, and that speaks volumes right there in just six words, right? Because it is. Racism is a form of bullying, and it cuts deeper a lot of times. Just the emote the statements. You don't physically have to hit me, right? But you can say and continue to tear apart all the time, and then it eventually starts wearing folks down. Uh, Montel and I typically talk about Melissa, the family unit, right? And then the folks around you, making sure that you have quality folks around you, especially, and we'll talk about him in a second, John Morant. If you're the bag, right? If you're the one that's out there supporting for your family, make sure you have quality people around you such that those negative vibes, those negative connotations, those types of things don't get into your sphere, into your world. But when they do, how do we elevate from that? Right. I of the three stories that I put up on the screen, I worry most right now about Bubba Wallace. Right. Because NASCAR traditional, listen, they out there flying that other flag too. And no, he's out there and he's winning. And right. I mean, there's just issues around that. I'm concerned about his safety. I'm concerned about everyone's safety that's involved in these types of situations, and especially also the soccer player. But the fact that this keeps happening for someone like a Bubba Wallace, and then I just don't know. I wonder if he's going to let them win, and I hope he doesn't. Right? I hope he's strong enough to continue to live on and be on this platform, and speak his truth and be resilient to this. Melissa, what are your thoughts? Do you see kind of is it prevalent in your industry from a football perspective as well? Do you see a lot of contention between the athletes?
Not really as much within women's sports. I feel like we try to really band together. Like you
Mm,
said, that's the one place where the best player plays. And you know, you can kick my ass, but guess what? It doesn't matter about your race. It's just about skill. But it makes me think about like Jackie Robinson and all the adversity that he went through just to kind of pave a way for, all the rest of the black baseball players that are coming up. Like my godson, he is a baseball player and he is a pitcher at that. And had it not been for like the Jackie Robinsons of the world, the ones that are paving the way and literally breaking stereotypes and saying, you know what, I'm better. And that's the one thing about sports is that it doesn't matter about race. It matters about skill. And although that, you know, fans can be hecklers and kind of discriminate, I just think that it should be about the best person and it's not really so it shouldn't be so political.
mm, interesting.
Those
Yeah,
people like the Bubba Wallace that are literally breaking stereotypes and making a way for the future to be able to then be able to walk through that door and maybe not have to go through some of those adversities that they have to go through.
yeah. And isn't this the second incident for Bubba Wallace? Didn't he have like the noose or some of the
Yeah, I
nooses
mean,
before,
I think
like
it was last year or
last year?
two years ago,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that he had the noose again in his paddock area while he was prepping, coming into the area before the
Mhm.
race, and there was a noose around the door to get in. So again, and that just see that starts messing with you, man. And again, when you really the minority in the environment. I mean, like Kevin is saying, NASCAR as a whole has a different demographic and a different type of fan base. Again, they rolling up in the RVs and they got the Confederate flag and right. It's you walk in there and you can feel the tension. I've been to a few of the races. That's so I know as well. And your boy stuck out. I'm just saying. And Bubba Wallace out there trying to trailblaze. Uh, Bless his heart, man. I wish him nothing but the
I,
best on that.
I think that I like what you said, James. Before I hope he doesn't let them win. Right?
Mm,
Like I hope he doesn't let them defeat them because so many times we get defeated in that process, whether it's in the in sports environment or even a professional environment. We all work in high tech. We all know how very few African Americans are in the high tech industry compared
hmm
to the masses. It's tough, right? It's a tough gig. I think our motivations are our paycheck and providing for our family. Well, now that Bubba Wallace is pretty much successful and has the bag, does he like I don't need to deal with this anymore and walk away from the sport? Because at this point, why should I have to deal with it? And I hope he
No,
doesn't let that defeat him. You know,
I hope he doesn't either. I
yeah.
think that what he's doing is so big and it actually makes a way for the future. It makes me think of my daughter when she was barrel racing. There was not very many black people out there barrel racing. We were definitely one of the few, if not the only, at a race or how did you get involved in it? And but guess what? It didn't matter because she would go out there and she would win. And that actually showed other little black girls that, you know what, I could go out there and win too. Maybe I could ride horses. I don't have to fit the mold or do what somebody else expects. I can do whatever is within my heart. And, it takes those people that are basically trendsetters and not afraid to push the limit, not afraid to follow their dreams, and not afraid to, go out there and kick anybody's ass that steps in front of you.
Yeah, I agree. And I, like I said, I hope he's strong enough. It seems like, I know you pushed your daughter to be strong enough to be that, but, we also know some people aren't strong enough. That's a hard task sometimes to take on. And I think especially once you become financially well off and set, where you don't have to depend on that to be your livelihood, where you can walk into the sunset and you'll still be okay. I think Bubba Wallace is in that situation now. Unlike Jackie Robinson, right? Jackie Robinson had to do it because he had to feed his family. They weren't making millions and millions of dollars, and even though by any means was rich. Bubba Wallace right now, I believe, is pretty much well off financially. He could walk away and not have to deal with it. But to me, that would be a form of quitting and letting them win, and that would stop the trailblazing process of him opening the door for other people. It just takes a different kind of thick skin to be able to deal with that. And I can empathize with him if he says he does want to walk away. Why do I have to deal with this madness if I don't have to, and I don't have to depend on it? So I don't want him to, but I can definitely understand if he did. You know what I mean? And it's just sad. It's kind of just sad that we have to be in that situation, because you being the best still isn't good enough, regardless of your race or skin or color. And I kind of hate the fact of the matter that why can't you accept our winners when we accept your winners? Like us, we praised Larry Bird. We used to, when he was in the competition, but we praised him because he was so good. We praised Tom Brady. We do that. But yeah, you have a problem when one of us is the great in that sport. There's an issue with it, and there's all these racial undertones coming in, man. It's just sad. The way society is going with this is pretty sad, because, like you said, race should never become an issue. Just should be your talent and your skills.
This leads into.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think that we should.
No, go ahead, Melissa. I'm
I was
sorry.
just gonna say, I just hope that he thinks about the next generation of kids that are watching him and think that he's like a superstar and amazing. Think about those next generation of kids, that aspire to do what he's doing.
Yeah.
If he's not gonna hold the door open and make sure that it stays open for the next generation, I think that that's the most important thing. Sometimes it's bigger than you.
Yep. I
It's
agree.
bigger than you. So when it's bigger than you and it's all on your shoulders, so this perfectly leads in kind of the last segment that I wanted to talk about, with it being Mental Health Awareness Month, right? The toll that it takes, right? So now you're the African American who's riding NASCAR. You're the one out there playing soccer. You're the one doing all these other things, or you've got other issues going on in your world. Thinking about Morant again, right? He sent out a handful of tweets and an IG post this morning, which were concerning, right? He sent that. If it wasn't him, and if it wasn't for what he's going through, they wouldn't necessarily be concerning. But love you, pops. You the greatest, baby girl. I'm reading them off right here. And then the last one he sent out was just bye. So, right, he's been caught with weapons now, doing what he shouldn't be doing. He's lost some brand relationships. I know Nike is no longer at least advertising or carrying his shoe, and I think he had a drink, a sports drink like Gatorade or something like that, a commercial that was supposed to be running and it's no longer running. They messed around and had to send the police out there to do a welfare check. Thoughts on that kind of thing, right? The fact that we get to the point where so much is on your shoulders. Again, you're the bag. I'll keep making that statement, but again, then you start sending out these things saying it's somewhat overwhelming, and we're concerned about you. And then you see someone, again, another athlete, Andre Drummond, says, "Listen, I'm done with this. I'm done with social media. I'm changing my number. Don't call me. Only my mom and my daddy know my number, that kind of thing. And I need to step away from this just for my mental health and my mental well-being." What are your guys' thoughts on something like this? And I guess being courageous enough to say that I got to step away from these tweets and these IGs and these snaps and all of this stuff to try to understand who it is that I am, because I'm going through so much. I know it's two different stories because it's Ja and Andre, and I know there's not a lot of other folks. I know DeMar DeRozan has said that he suffers from depression, so he also goes through some things as well. But this isn't new. But with it being Mental Health Awareness Month, I wanted to talk about this a little bit. So, Melissa, let's start with you on this particular topic. Your thoughts on the John Morant tweets and IG posts, things like that, and then the welfare check, and then Andre Drummond stepping away from social media.
I think that mental health is so important. People tend to forget that, athletes, although you're praising their physical abilities, there's a lot of things that are going on mentally that, sometimes need to be addressed. And,
Mm,
a lot of times people focus on just the physical attributes of an athlete and kind of forget that they're a person too. And the scrutiny of like, social media and the public eye always being on you sometimes could be a lot. And I think that it's important to be able to unplug and just have the people that are closest to you in your circle be able to give you that voice of reason and kind of keep you grounded. I think that that's so important. And I always try to like take little social media breaks because sometimes it just gets overwhelming.
hmm
Everybody's energy and their attention or their opinions can weigh heavy. And everybody's always going to have an opinion. So you just want to make sure that you keep the people closest to you. There's nothing wrong with having to go talk to a therapist, or keeping somebody because therapy actually is good. They can't tell anybody. They sign NDAs.
hmm
It's a confidentiality, requirement. So you can speak freely and openly with a therapist and find somebody that you trust and that you can relate to as well, that understands and can give you good advice. Because I think that sometimes when you're at the top, sometimes you can kind of uh, lose your footing, or kind of lose touch with reality a little bit. And sometimes if you have a lot of people that are yes people around you,
hmm
that could be taxing as
Come on
well,
now.
because then you're not getting the reality. You're not getting a third party perspective. All you're getting is these haters online and your family that wants to please you. And so really, I think that like mental health is very important. Having a therapist is very important. I think everybody should have somebody that they can reach out to, even if it's just here and there to touch base and just make sure that you're in a good space. Because a lot of times with everything that's going on with this country, a lot of people are not. Like my church, they're saying is it's okay to not be okay. And it's what's not okay is
Wow.
to not get help and to not recognize it or to not try to be the best version of yourself.
I like that. That's a great statement. Martel, what are your thoughts on this, man? Because again, we've talked specifically about Josh so many times and wondering,
Mhm.
what's going on with the young cat, right? He doesn't
Um,
need to be doing this, but your thoughts?
these are two different stories for us,
Yeah.
ball. Andre Drummond, I respect.
Mm.
Walking away from it, you got to get away from it. You know you're dealing with something. Something's causing you depression. You're walking. I question Josh his mental state because
That's why I put these two
he,
stories
he he's
together because I wanted to have this.
I question it. People,
Yeah.
I seen Tony Davis said, he's throwing out a smoke signal. Is he throwing out a smoke signal because he got caught, or is he throwing out a smoke signal because he's really depressed? Is he doing this because he got caught and now he's getting in trouble and his hand is actually starting to get slapped, or is he really going through some issue? And I don't know, because John's been so authentic with us from the beginning, sending out an AI apology.
hmm
He hasn't been sincere with his apologies. And I'm not saying the young man not be going through some things, but I don't think it's a mental health. I think he has an identity crisis. He's caught between being a superstar and a thug.
Wow.
He don't know which one to be. And now his hand is getting slapped and everybody's telling him it's wrong. And now you send out these tweets like something's wrong, and now everyone's, this is public story. We have to do a wellness check on him or something like that. And maybe so. I believe he's a little depressed because he's getting his hand slapped. Rightfully so, though. He deserves to be in trouble for what he did. He did something that is against what his work, his work, and what his image is supposed to be, and what's supposed to be able to secure in the bag, and the image he's supposed to portray. He
hmm
deserves to be punished. But when you deserve to be punished, you don't get to cry for help. That's not the way the game works. You don't cry for help when you get in trouble because you're mad because you got in trouble. So now all of a sudden I got to send out, I miss you, mom. I miss you, dad. I love you, boo, and blah, 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 because he wasn't doing it before. And I'm sorry, mental health is a progress. Him carrying a gun and all that stuff, having fun, singing, throwing money in the air. He was having a good time when he's all that. He wasn't mental health then. Why all of a sudden he mental health now when everything's been taken away from him? His is just unauthentic. He might be going through something. He may be depressed. He may be all that. But I'm going to tell you right now, and I'll say it live, I agree with 50 Cent. Depression is a privilege because people are depressed every day, but they got to get up and go to work. They got to fight through it. Everybody gets depressed when you're an adult. So the sense that you can sit around and wallow in it and stew in it and send out tweets and say everybody you bad, I don't have such a forgiving spirit on that. When you walk away from it, like Andre Drummond said, hey, I got to go deal with something because this is getting too overwhelming for me. Respect that 100%. But when you do it because you're in trouble, man, I'm not going to be so forthright with all this because I can tell you right now, there's 100,000 prisoners in jail that's depressed as well. They sit around all day, they depressed. There's a whole bunch of single moms that's working in the hood. They got to do 3 jobs, depressed as hell. But you know what? They got to get up and fight through it. And I tweet nobody about it. They have to fight through it. Depression to me is a privilege to have to be able to sit around and stew in it. Most people have depression and they fight through it. They go through it and they can continue to go through their day. Right or wrong or indifferent. Not saying anything's right or wrong, but that's the way life is. That's the reality of it. So that's my spiel on Joe.
Liz, I'll let you chime in.
I will say one thing though. He's young, right? And like being bipolar, and there's a lot of different things that maybe you can't see from the outside looking in that you are not privy to or don't know what he's going through. Mental health actually for like people that are bipolar for men usually sets in from like 18 to 24. You know, I'm not saying that he's bipolar, but what I'm saying is that he does need help. He is crying out for help. And when you're young, especially when you have a lot of money, you do a lot of stupid stuff. And he just has the world looking at him, and he needs to have people that are good around him actually going and getting him the help that he needs.
I would equate this to almost like when you're young and you're young and you have that girlfriend that you think you're in love with and she breaks up with you. So you do all this stupid stuff you need to do to get attention from her, where you write her notes or you follow her a little bit or you send her candy when it's unwarranted. You're not crazy. You're just depressed about the situation that happened. You're not mentally health challenged. You're just depressed a little bit about the situation that happened, and you're trying to figure out how to get past it. Obviously, time makes that happen, but I don't think he may be crying out for help. I'm just not buying it just yet because, like I said, his actions from the beginning has been always unauthentic. So it's kind of hard for me to say, you know what, I feel sorry for you. Really? Well, I don't know. You had 2 guns. You're in a party with some strippers. You were throwing money up. You threatened your sister's friend at a party. You're trying to be this tough guy when you're actually a basketball star. Which one am I supposed to buy? Is it all the above or what? I don't know. Drummond's, I do feel, there's something going on. He's acknowledged that he wants to step away because his actions have been unauthentic up to this point. Giles has not. So I'm not going to buy into somebody that's been unauthentic with us for the last for the last year or so.
And back to the statement right there, Mr. Johnson saying again, need to have those right people around you. Big difference between friends and associates. And I agree with you to an extent on the Jaws thing, because again, to that statement right there, his biggest cheerleader, who we keep talking about, and I always keep talking about, who's in the front row drinking drinks with all the celebrities, is his daddy. And if your daddy is there cheering you on, buying all the watches with you, and not molding and shaping and corralling you and your younger sister, who's also coming up, and she's a great player too, and she's very aggressive, right? So she's seeing what Ja's doing, and would love to catch her before she goes down whatever path that she's going to go. Hopefully that she goes down the right path, right? Because again, she's a star player in basketball as well, and I've seen a couple of instances where, listen, she's giving some hard fouls as well, and she's got that Morant swagger. Nothing wrong with that, but again, just would like to see, like Mr. Johnson is saying here, have the right people around you, less associates, handful of friends, more family that is watching you and keeping you on a straight and narrow. Well, listen, we get into it, don't we? See, your lights done messed around and gone out at your house. Your lights done messed around and gone out.
I need to pay the bill. Dang it. No, I'm just kidding. I got solar.
That's all right. We're gonna send you a check for sure. Some dividends, some team notes. Listen, again, wanting to be cognizant of time, and that's kind of, I think, where we'll wrap, and then we'll talk about some of the other stories next time. But loving the engagement, from the community here. Loving what folks are saying. I'll bring this last statement up here. Tony Davis saying, "Well, I worked in mental health for years. I seen it all and thought the same way. Then when I seen people lose it, it changed his perspective." Wow. All right. So again, let the clinicians, let those professionals diagnose and help those that need the help. Andre definitely is making the right decision, but we questioned y'all, right? The apology being written by Chat GPT, that's a problem, brother. You could have at least changed some of the punctuation. You listen.
Man, that's what I'm just saying, man. I
That
mean, because maybe my part, and before we go, nah, man,
yeah
just like my part is sometimes people hide behind the statement of mental health, right? I'm mentally health, and I don't think sometimes it's mental health because you're cognizant of the things, the actions that you're doing.
yeah.
You're very conscious of what you're doing. But now all of a sudden, when you get caught or you're in trouble, now I want to blame it on the mental health issue. So I have a little bit of problem with that. I mean, I'm not dismissing people that do have mental health issues. I believe if they have it, they need help. And sometimes I believe sometimes there are cries for help, but also believe people use sometimes that as an excuse. Just like it's just it goes both ways. So we have to take individuals for what they are and kind of decipher it against ourselves, or have them go to professional people and have them dictate it. But I mean, man, when you're in that situation like Ja, I just can't. I'm not just gonna ride with it, man. I'm just not going. You can't get a pass all of a sudden.
No
That's not
pass.
going. That don't fly with me,
No
unfortunately.
I mean,
pass.
I don't know him personally, but I just know that when you're young, you make mistakes,
Yes.
and especially when you're in the public eye, you have a lot more scrutiny on you and you have a lot more attention. I know a lot of young kids that do stupid stuff and they use ChatGPT to do all kind of things,
Yeah,
like
but
for
but
their
do- but doing
papers
stupid
and their
stuff. But does that
assignments
make you?
and
But does it make you
apology
mental
notes.
health because you do stupid things? Does that make you a mental health issue because you do stupid things? I chalk that up to
No, a lot
adolescence.
of people
That's
aren't diagnosed. Mental health is a big stigma in today's society, and I think that even when was it 50 Cent saying that we don't have the luxury to be depressed, like that's the wrong mentality to have. I think that's the hood mentality, and that's
Mm,
those kind of
come on.
mentalities that I think make it hard for people to go get help when they need it. Because they think that they don't have the luxury to do that, or they don't. Some of them don't have the insurance to do that. But at the end of the
Mhm.
day, everybody deserves a chance, and I think that everybody has a right to apologize or to make mistakes and be forgiven. As long as you
Yes, I
learn
agree.
from it and
I agree.
you're not doing the same thing over and over, then I mean, we're entitled to make mistakes. Nobody on this earth is perfect. So I mean, is he young? Is he doing dumb things? Yes. Is he maybe going through something? Possibly. But I don't think it's for anybody to judge him. I think it's something that he needs to go through with himself, and sometimes those consequences hit you a lot harder than somebody else, especially when you're in the position that he's in. He needs to be more mindful. He could lose it all. And, it just takes one bad decision to mess up your whole life. So I think that when there's more eyes on you, you have to be more mindful of that. But I do think that, some people deserve grace and they deserve understanding, or, some people don't. But
There you
that's
go.
just to
That's
be
where I'm at.
determined.
Man, hey, okay, listen.
I applaud you, Melissa. That was perfectly said. I think that was well said.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Yeah,
extend the
that was well
invitation right
said.
now. You come back whenever you want to. Listen,
Yeah.
man, right, that whole perspective right there, and just like Kevin Cox says, right, 100% agree with that statement right there. This was cool. I do want to, like I said, be cognizant of your time and not hold you, and just in case your daughter and the dogs are back there acting up. Who knows what's going on, right? Your lights done going off, so we don't know what's happening now, right? Down there in them LA streets. Um, but I tell you what, tell folks what you got going on next, where folks can find you. I'm gonna put a lot of links in the description as well, so they can check out the team. They can check out some of the other stuff you're doing. But if you don't mind, just telling folks, if they want to get in contact with you, how they can do that.
Okay, yeah. So my handle on Instagram is mmiles_5, and you can kind of reach me on there. What I'm going to be doing really is just enjoying my off season. And the playoffs are coming up pretty soon, so you could check out the schedule on at the WNFC website. It's going to be in Utah, Salt Lake City. So it should be a good game. I'm going to be out there supporting, all the other teams that made it, and just supporting some of my friends that still play for other teams. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a sisterhood. And so I just want to make sure that we're pushing the sport forward and we're cohesive as a unit, and just building the brand and building football for women. overall, that's going to be my goal. Like I said, I'm also going to get back into coaching, and really excited for my next steps.
So I tried to buy the hoodie, and it's out of stock. So I'm upset. That's the one reason why I went off screen just now, because I wanted to buy my Silver Star. I'm real upset. Both the black and the white are out of stock.
You know what? I'll send you one. I'll send
Come
you
on
one.
now,
Just send me your
I'll
size.
let your boy. Okay, we
Yeah,
talk. You know,
I got
we know
you.
some. You know, Montel, what size you wear, man? Well, okay. She only gave me one. She didn't give you
She
one.
gave you one, man. It's all good.
I'll get you both one. Just
I
tell me
love
your
it.
size. I got you.
I love it.
We need more people repping the sweatshirt that says "Real women play football."
Listen. I'll wear that. I'll wear that tomorrow. I tell you what. Melissa
Absolutely.
Miles, you are amazing. If I could find the old comments that were up here, like from Melanie Diane Howe and from Kevin and from Tony, some of the other folks, and Robert Johnson, saying that you are out here just making the mark, breaking all the ceilings, and making all the right noise. We appreciate that. We want to see you not only on the field, playing, coaching, in the conference rooms, doing the executive thing. We done already promoted you to commissioner, so you already. It's time to go ahead and print out some new business cards. But thank you very much for taking the time. I know it was a little bit of time coming to get you on the show, but you came on at the right time.
Well,
time.
thank you.
So
Thank you for having me. I mean, it's been great topics. I think that a lot of people need to hear, candidly what's going on in the world and kind of like different perspectives on things. So thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
you got it. Mr. Allen, go ahead and take us home, man. That's what you do.
Oh man, thank you for everybody for tuning in. Melissa, thank you for coming on, sharing your perspective. Really do appreciate it. And like we said, especially in this Mental Health Awareness Month, reach out to your family, your friends. Just check up on them, give them that phone call, let them know that you care about them. That can make a difference. Peace.
We out, y'all. Team No Slate.